Welcome to the new sound of online radio. Welcome to the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network. 'Cause you make me feel like I've been locked out of heaven. A mix of today's hits and hard-to-find favorites, combined with the most entertaining and intriguing talk anywhere. This is your sound. This is the sound of Universal Broadcasting Network at uenradio.com.
It's time for the Bonnie Sher Show, a whirlwind of wit, wisdom, celebrity, and the boomer life. With a little bit of this and a lot of that and so much more you don't want to miss, here's Bonnie.
Well, hello there, and welcome new friends and old. I'm Bonnie Sher, and I will be your host through the worlds of celebrity, the great boomer generation, of course, my tribe of type 1 diabetics. Thank you for tuning in, and please feel free to join the conversation. Easy enough to do. Call us at 323-843-2826, or you can follow the hashtag BSHER Radio on Twitter. Before we get this show on the road, I'd like to acknowledge jazz great Wayne Cobham for my Super Duper Hero theme song. Thanks, Wayne. And while I'm at it, I also want to thank Corey Bowen of Crown and Anchor Jewelry for providing me with the jewelry that he allows me to wear in exchange for this promotional message. You can reach out to Corey. It's Crown and Anchor Jewelry on Etsy, or you can probably also hit him up at Twitter as Corey Bowen. That's Boan. When we come back, novelist Scott Baker Sweeney.
Your life story is more than the things you do. It's a story built on the moments you make today and the impact you have on others. How big is your story going to be? Live your legend.
Scott, are you with me? Hold on. We're holding. Hello, Scott, are you there?
I am here.
Hey! I love America when it works. Yeah, well, I'm not sure if I could say that. You're where in Indiana now?
Well, I am in Indianapolis. I'm sitting at the airport waiting to pick up my wife flying in from California. So that makes
I
no
could have
sense.
sent her off. Why didn't you tell me? Well, listen, welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Thank you.
Scott, tell me about what you're doing these days.
Well, I have a new book that's out, and I'm very excited
That's what I
about
want
it.
to hear about.
I Was Never Afraid.
It's a great read, by the way. It held me. I'll tell you, I read it in maybe 3 or 4 sittings, and I was held throughout the whole thing. So, hats off to you, my friend. Let me ask you, have you always been an author? Was this your life's work? How did you get into being an author?
Well, I've always been an author at heart. My mother wrote short stories. My grandfather wrote poetry. It's something as a young man that I liked to read, and I kind of wrote and stuffed things away in shoe boxes, and my mom collected them, like many mothers around the globe. But it was something I didn't dream that I'd really would pursue, I guess. Until
so what
I got
turned
into
you over?
later in life.
I'm sorry for interrupting, but what made you go from, I didn't think I would, to I did?
Well, it was kind of two things. First of all, and I won't mention it, I have some favorite authors, and I was reading their books, and they began to sound alike, and I thought, I don't want to. If I would write, I want every book to be different, and in genre, and so there was a little bit of that going on, and I was sitting around, my wife and I, on a Sunday morning. We were watching NPR or something on TV, and they had an author on there that wrote a children's book. And I told my wife, I said, I could do one of those a week. And so she dared me, and my first book was a children's book, Beyond the Reef, and I wrote it and set it off. So that got me started, and then it just the competitive juices, and then I started in on my novel and wrote the first novel and the second one, and then another children's book, and then a third novel, and so forth.
Now, you told me that you have 4 children and a couple of grands as well. Did you fly these books by the kids? Your children's books.
My youngest son did influence me quite a bit in character selection. My first novel, The Tears of Mary, I had it 2/3 of the way done, and he was in the Navy SEALs, and he says, "Dad, I think you really ought to change the character to a Navy SEAL." And he was like 10 years old, and I thought, okay, maybe I'll do it. And this is before all of the recent Navy SEAL movies and the hoopla on the SEALs. So I'll say that. But I went back and changed the character and took it a different direction. And I've been told by a film company that I'm next in line for to talk to me to sign over the rights. He's ready to make a deal for the rights for the book, and wants to turn this
we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. That's very exciting that more people here know about. Yeah, that's really eminently cool, Scott. We love hearing that.
I am excited. I've been riding a roller coaster of that type of thing for a while. With all
I've been riding that same roller coaster since I was 11. Come on board. It's a great trip.
It's highs and lows, and 3 words that I've come to know very clear here the last 3 or 4 years is waiting on financing. So I've realized no matter how well the film company likes or the producer likes your book or loves your book, it's all about financing. It's
absolutely
all about finding
but
the
doesn't
goose,
it?
the will lay some golden eggs and so forth. So,
but let me ask you this.
But The Tears of Mary and this one particular film company, it sounds pretty promising. So I won't jinx it by mentioning any names quite yet.
No.
But I'm really excited about the new novel coming out because it's both a novel and a biography. And the 2 portions of the book, and it's based on a gal born in Marion, Indiana here, but she moves to Denver, Colorado, and she sets world records back in 1967. This is a true character, and I really am. I'm kind of on a mission to rekindle her name, I guess.
And her name was? Hello. Did we lose you? Scott, where did you go? Well, I don't tap dance. I'm going to have to tap dance through this until we can get him back on the line. But I will tell you this. I have read 2 of Scott's books now. And I found they're marvelous. They are really good reads. And as soon as we get Scott back on the line, I'll let him tell you more about it.
I am back. I apologize.
Did you pick up somebody else instead of your wife? Where did you go? You decided you were done.
There must have been a surveillance plane fly over. I don't know.
There was.
But it's back to I Was Never Afraid. My new book. I wrote it as a novel. There's a mysterious character in the book that is revealed in the end in a biography, and so we're real excited about that. Real excited about promoting her. And I've got my next group of book signings is in Denver, and just reached out to the mayor of Denver today to see what we can do about making a monument or something in the town, maybe name a street.
And when do you go, when do you go to Colorado?
Next month, the 19th or the 18th through the 20th.
Okay, well, please keep me informed about those dates and what's happening, and I'll be glad to keep track of you and give you a shout out to our listeners who are there in the area. And maybe somebody will even drive from Boulder, one of my favorite spots. Okay, what I'm going to... Well, I'll trade you, but I'm not moving to Avon, Indiana, not so fast. Okay, I want you to hold it right there. And when we come back, I want to know more about the children's books. I was going to ask you about your character. However, seeing as you've already answered that, I go with my B question. So there we go. We'll be back in a few. Hang on, we'll be back with with Scott right after this.
Since when did experience become something to hide? I say we own it. Lose all that negativity. Just let it go. It's just bad energy. Oh, and lose those terrible black balloons they give you on your 50th. What's up with that?
Hey, we hear you. That's why our members love AARP the magazine. It celebrates you with fun and provocative content, from lifestyle and entertainment to in-depth reporting. And it's just one of the great benefits of membership.
If you don't think this is right for me when you think AARP, then you don't know ARP. Get to know us at aarp.org/possibilities.
To be at peace with myself is the most prominent thing, and I am at peace with myself. I didn't deal this deck, I'm just playing the game. That's all. That's it. Meals on Wheels has given me a mode of freedom that I wouldn't have otherwise. And making sure they get the nutrition that I need, and it's a balanced meal. My name is Maurice McGriff. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
You are tuned in to the Bonnie Sher Show, Boomer Life, and we have the pleasure of chatting with Scott Baker Sweeney. So join our conversation. Call in at 323-843-2826 or tweet the hashtag, that's #BSHER radio. So let's pick up where we left off before the break. So Scott, please tell me about the children's books.
Well, Beyond the Reef was my first book, first children's book, and it was about 3 little wooden boats, and one is an orphan, and through the book, he keeps venturing closer and closer to the reef around their little city, their little island, and the elders in the island tell them never go beyond the reef. Well, this only promotes inquisitive thoughts from him. And so they want to know what's beyond the reef, and they go around and they ask others, well, what could beyond the reef? What's beyond the reef? What would happen? So they ask characters in the book like Larry the Lighthouse and Thomas the Tugboat, and there's a lesson in the end, and about venturing beyond the reef in life, and so it was a cute and fun book to write, but as I realize, I'm not an artist. Most children's books are really, it's all about the illustration, and the book was beautifully illustrated, by the way. But I thought, this is I could write one a week, but I would rather be writing a novel, and I moved on and wrote novels for a while. But then I was contacted by a lady in Indianapolis that runs a museum for Vietnam aircraft, and it's the Weir Cook Airport Museum. She wanted to know if I wanted to write a children's book about the Vietnam War, and I thought she was kidding. And she before that has been a big fan of my books, and I said, what do you want me to write something about the killing fields for youth or something, along that name? And she goes, oh, no, this is about aircraft used in the Vietnam War, and we have a real museum. Kids come along and they have questions and so forth. So I ended up writing that book, and she hooked me up with an illustrator that had never done a children's book before, but he was a technical illustrator for Lockheed Martin. And he did a fantastic job. We made the airplanes come to life, the aircraft, and we had a whole lot of fun. And I donated the book to her charity, and I don't make a dime off of it. But if you want to Google the Heroes of the Sky, you can get a copy for your kids. Nice.
And what age group? What age group do you pretty much aim toward in that book?
That's hard to put a handle on these days because kids read so. But as both of my children's books and what I did with my kids, I set them on my lap and read to them, and it's a book that you can, before they can read and write, you can sit on their lap, have them sit on your lap and read to them. And I would say all the way up to 8, maybe 8 or 9. Just depending.
Well, I have a perfectly appropriate grandson who I think would absolutely love and adore that, especially if he's sitting on his daddy's lap. So we'll see if I can't make that happen. I should do something that they like, right? Anyway.
Well, I also, I would read my novel if somebody, adult wouldn't sit on my lap. But,
can I come sit on your lap? Oh, no, wait. You're picking up your wife. I forgot. Don't get me confused. I get myself in trouble. But I meant that in the most... I'll just leave it like it is before I put my foot in any farther. I know you Midwesterners. Don't you try and tell me all you do is sit back and write books. I have a feeling there's a B-side story that I want to hear. But off the air.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I'm a lot older than the B-side now. When I was younger, maybe.
It's what I said on Saturday then. Anyway. Okay. Before we go to our next break, please, Scott, let our audience know how they can follow you, how they can find your books, how they can support you, all that good stuff.
Well, I just write to entertain people, and I think they're very entertaining, my books. Critics love my books. People who don't normally read my genre, they switch over, they read it, they love it. Film companies love my books. So I must be doing something right. My whatever the genre is, my books, I really write heavy into character, and the people fall in love with my characters and the story, and it's quick moving, books are available anywhere, any retail store that sells books. Google my name, Scott Baker Sweeney. I'm available at Barnes & Noble's, Books A Million, Amazon. Amazon's awfully hard to beat in price. So anywhere you normally buy books, I'm available, Scott Baker Sweeney. And if you're a producer out there and you have a pile of money sitting there,
move over.
You can message me, call my friend, my agent Bonnie, Bonnie Sher, my agent, and she can get a hold of me. But,
I would be happy to put that together for a small fee. No. That's just, what am I talking about? That's why I have no money, because I keep saying, no, don't pay me anything. Anyway, thank you so much.
We'll say what everybody else, we're waiting on money. We're waiting on financing.
Yeah, isn't that the new thing? We're waiting. Well, could we wait over here and do something in the meantime? Listen, thank you, Scott, and I wish you all the best. And keep writing and stay in touch and let me know what's doing with you, okay?
I will. And follow me on Facebook, folks. And thank you very much, Bonnie. Thanks.
My pleasure, Scott. All the best to you. Go find your wife now.
Thank you very much.
As we do go to break, I'd like to acknowledge the important work of the Diabetes Research Institute, and I encourage you to support their efforts. You can visit them online at diabetesresearch.org. Tell them Bonnie sent you. They won't know I am anyway. Our song of the day is coming up next.
Type 1 diabetes can be living in anyone.
Type 1 diabetes is when your pancreas doesn't produce insulin. It's not caused by your diet. It's not caused by anything you did.
Type 1 diabetes can be very serious.
Blindness, amputation.
Learn more about type 1 diabetes.
Help support JDRF finding a cure.
T1D looks like my brother.
T1D looks like a friend.
Type 1 diabetes looks like me.
Well, that was the wonderful Sherry Payne singing Crumbs Off the Table. Personally, I love that woo-woo-wooing part. Whew, even better than the do-do-doing. In any case, welcome back to the Bonnie Sher Show, Boomer Life. My co-host for this segment is Laurence Chalem. And Laurence is a member of the T1D Type 1 Diabetes, that is, community, from right here in the great state of California. Welcome, Laurence. Well, Laurence isn't there. Laurence, come out, wherever you are. Laurence, he didn't go with the plan. I sent you a piece of paper and everything. Where are you? Wait, who's laughing?
You hear me now.
Is this a commercial for Verizon?
This has to be because.
Well, let's start this again. Hello, Laurence.
Awesome. Hi there, Miss Bonnie.
Laurence, you've been living with type 1 diabetes. Could you please share your story?
My story. You mean there's actually people out there that want to hear my story?
Well, it's my show, and I want to hear it. And if I want to hear it, I bet there are others who want to hear it too. You know how we all tend to do that. Can't fool me.
So it's a very simple story. Probably like a lot of folks. Diabetes doesn't strike based on anything other than probably the wrong place at the wrong time, right? Lots of ways to get it. Clearly, I got it because I had too many girlfriends in high school.
You think that was the reason? I had plenty.
The evidence indicates that has to be the case.
Okay, well, I would like to take a look at that research sometime. Maybe I can figure out where mine came from. How old were you, Laurence?
So I'm thinking that I was diabetic long before high school or even college, but I really didn't show any signs probably until the beginning of college when I exacerbated the probably, the beta cells were burnt out probably due to combination of stress, a lowered immune system, and just beta cell burnout from eating too many fast-acting carbohydrates. Needless to
it's like raindrops on roses. Those are some of my favorite things. I am. It's terrible. I'm a carboholic. That's why I was so interested in having you come on. And so that leads me to my next question, Laurence, which is what T1 issue would you like to bring to our community today?
That's great, Bonnie. I really am passionate about this one. It's the basis of starting a group on Facebook. It's the basis of blogging. It's the basis of writing a few books on the subject. And I'm sure other people have talked about it and written about it, but my unique take is that what we have is a conflict of interest, or as Steve McQueen would say, a failure to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that is that we don't have independent people giving dietary advice and help to diabetics, but we have a very biased group of folks. You can use the word corrupt. It doesn't necessarily mean that people are doing things illegally, but it's corrupt because the people that are providing the treatments are influencing the people that are providing the dietary recommendations. And that in and of itself is biased and corrupt. And while I'm not making any claims that the advice is bad per se, although you can go on Facebook or on virtually any blog and see that that there are many people that think the advice is, the technical term is crap. But the problem is the process itself is corrupt. And the item that's foremost on my mind is very much wanting to change this corrupt system and have something that where it isn't corrupt, where we don't have the treatment providers in the process to create the very treatments for the diabetics.
And what would you do to alter that? How can we do that, Laurence?
Oh my goodness, that is a great question. You know what? I don't have an answer.
Laurence,
I wish I did.
Laurence, I'm counting on you, man. Don't let me down now. You're about to become my hero.
So let me
until you tell me I have to cut out. Does this mean full reduction of carbs? Do we really need any carbs in our diet?
So I'm sure you've had other guests. I think the most credible guests would be a doctor from Duke, Dr. Westman, and he's written an article exactly of that title that says, "Are Carbohydrates Essential?" And he went through it and did the research, and he found that no, the answer is carbohydrates are non-essential. That is,
it's
the body.
Interesting. I'm sorry for interrupting, but I remember when I was first diagnosed 50 years ago, I got the old 60-30-10. 60% carbs, 30% protein, 10% fat. Maybe that, and that's, I haven't heard them change that. So what you're saying is, but why haven't they changed that? What, are they all going to get confused? They can only take on so many numbers at once. What do we have to do? Do we need to educate our doctors?
So a great question, Bonnie. And the answer that I have for you is that while, yes, we have to educate our doctors, the problem is the inherent conflict of interest, right? That's the theme for today. It's even within the doctors, because what happens is that the doctors themselves are in conflict with their ongoing business, with their relationship with pharmaceutical companies, and then their relationship with patients. Mm-hmm. Their primary motivator, in most cases, not all cases, because we've seen an explosion and a high rate of doctors that are adhering more to a very low carbohydrate life for diabetics. But the conflict of interest is that for doctors is that they have to survive too in the marketplace, and they need to have patients, customers that come to them on a more regular basis. And if they provide and promulgate a diet consisting mostly of carbohydrates, those patients will have to keep coming back to them oftentimes, and oftentimes for more things besides the general practice, right? There's neuropathy and the products associated with that, the eyes and having to be referred to an optometrist, and the list goes on and on. So the conflict of interest, there's really no start and end point. It's more like a, pardon the phrase, vicious cycle and vicious circle. There's a conflict between the patient and the doctor. There's a conflict between pharmaceutical companies that pay and that influence the treatments. And then there's the doctors and the insurance companies, and the list just goes on and on. So back to the question, right? How do we solve it? Well, it looks like the only way to solve it is to educate patients to be smart enough to know that they need to be eating a very low carbohydrate diet to treat virtually all cases of diabetes. Diabetes insipidus, no. And there are some people out there that can eat whatever they want, look great at the beach, notwithstanding also living a long, happy, healthy life, eating carbohydrates and being diabetic. But I can't do that, and from what I know about you, Bonnie, and your listeners, is that you and they probably can't do that either.
Well, I can speak for myself, and it certainly is a struggle, I'll say that. Yeah.
So that's where we might differ, and while the disease can be disheartening and can be difficult, I am in the best shape of my life, and I wish that I could be on Skype and you can see a picture. Look at this body, Bonnie.
Well, I saw you with that tiger, and I decided I probably ought to back off. You know, there can only be
so
one.
I was a big kid. I wasn't quite obese, but I was very overweight. You know what? I'm still a little bit overweight, but I'm in the best health of my life. I now golf often. In fact, over July 4th weekend, I golfed every day, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and I feel great. And the eating part, that the part that we're newcomers to this, that have been eating carbohydrates their whole life and may even be addicted and have to eat 3 times a day. I eat most times 1 time a day. Mm-hmm. And I'm stuffed and never hungry after that, and I enjoy the food, and I have steak.
Well,
with
it's
butter.
better than that bologna cake I saw that was posted. I'm sorry. In my life, I could be starving. I cannot imagine or appreciate a moment in time where I would eat a bologna cake. I want to know, did you try it?
So I haven't tried it, and for the benefit
Good,
of
I
your
feel
listeners,
better.
There's actually a cake, a layered cake made of cream cheese and then slices of bologna.
That's
and
the
then
one
cream
I
cheese.
saw last night. Yeah. Well, I don't think so.
I have not tried it. I will try it.
No, you
but
will not.
I might not have the bologna. I might put,
just a cream cheesecake. No,
or even better. Yeah.
I could go for that. So, in your diet, do you entertain any carbs whatsoever?
So oftentimes, I'm not perfectly zero carbs. There are some people with some very severe health challenges that go a zero carbohydrate way of life because that's the best that they can do due to the significantly more histamines in plants and poisons that they just cannot tolerate. There's people with Lyme disease that just cannot tolerate any plant matter at all. So that notwithstanding, I can still tolerate green leafy vegetables. I do have a thing for Brussels sprouts, right? Some people never like them, and I feel for the people that listen to your show that hate Brussels sprouts, and I'm not forcing them upon anybody.
Have you ever made them with a little? You kind of saute them with a little, just in a wee bit of butter and a wee bit of soy sauce.
Why not? That sounds delicious.
It is.
And for me,
it's because of all the layers of flavor in it.
There you go, layers of flavor. For me, though, I just want to add more salt. I really, really love the taste of salt. And then the new thing for me is cauliflower. I love it as a crust for pizza. I love it as that's really the bread that I use if I ever eat hamburgers as where it's inside bread. I never eat bread, but I use cauliflower, fried cauliflower.
I couldn't imagine it. I just
right.
All right,
and that's also,
I'm going to try
it.
it. I'm going to give it a week, and if I haven't killed anybody and things are still going well, I'm going to call you. If I've killed somebody, well, they probably won't give me the quarter from the jail to call you. But that's what I'm going to plead in court. But he took away my carbs. I'm a big girl. I can do this. Basically, I've been eating even more carbs because I'm trying to put on some weight. I'm a good 10 to 15 pounds underweight now. I developed gastroparesis about 1.5 years ago. Actually, I probably have had it since the 80s, just nobody knew. And I'm trying to go more for calories right now, which is the advice that I've been given by my doctors, is not really worry about what I eat, just to make sure that I eat. But certainly proteins have a calorie base to them. I have a problem with the vegetables. Leafy vegetables do not digest well, so I've been taken off of that. Certainly any dark green vegetable. It's okay because kale and Bonnie do not walk hand in hand in this life. I'd like to meet the PR person who came up with that story. You know, he and the guy with the cinnamon ought to be making lots of money. Didn't you know you could cure your diabetes with cinnamon? But only if it's in a cinnamon bun. That makes sense to me.
Do you still produce insulin?
I don't know. I produce a show once a week, and that's about all I can be certain of. I've been a diabetic since I was 15 years old, and yes, this is
really,
my 50th year.
So, Bonnie, if you want to gain weight, you have to look at people that do that professionally, and the one group of people whose job it is to gain weight are sumo wrestlers in Japan.
Yes, and I actually made a film in Japan many years ago, and one of our locations was at a dojo, and the head sumo wanted to know if I wanted to go dancing. No, I mean, but yeah, that's true. I mean, I've seen these fellas eat. We took them out to dinner. And, you know, they brought out the Kobe beef on a platter, and you just point, and they chop it off where you tell them. They each had 4 baked potatoes. They each clearly had 2 pounds of meat, and, well, it worked. Now, if I could find a mid-ground, because I don't really want to turn to no, that wouldn't work. But all kidding aside, I want to do more reading. Is there something that... Of course, your blogs. Let's talk about you more. Tell us how the audience can follow you and stay in touch and learn more about.
Okay, so thanks. So, really, the easiest way is to Google Laurence, Laurence, and then diabetes. I'm really the only person out there named Laurence with a U, and right on diabetes. I'm on Facebook. I have some YouTube videos, but they're at least 10 years old, and I look so young and silly. But I do have a blog, and I do have a few books out. And on your last point on gaining weight and eating carbohydrates, the last book that I wrote takes all of the information that I've been researching over decades at this point, and I created a love story where the main character does develop diabetes and learns how to deal with it, but more importantly, what are the real mechanisms in place that are creating diabetes, and specifically, why is it that carbohydrates themselves are both addictive, and why are they so delicious? Right? I'm not gonna pretend that they're not the most wonderful things in the world to
eat. That's the way to get me to stop.
Why is that so? So here's if people wanted to keep in touch, and I hope they do. What sets me apart is that I wrote this novel, and I called it Glycosis, Glycosis, Glycosis. And it really tells the tale, besides a love story. It's really about a guy who is trying to find a topic to write his PhD dissertation on. And he goes and figures out why carbohydrates are so addictive and delicious. And I can give you the answer to that if you want, or we can kind of leave this as a cliffhanger.
All right, I'll do cliffhanger because I'm not ready to give him up yet, okay? I would give up a husband before I gave up my carbs. It's a good thing I'm not married. Well, now you know that. Laurence, thank you so much for the information that you brought to us today. And I know I, for one, want to hear more. I would like to invite you to come back in again, and we will continue this conversation. So we know how to get in touch with you. And by the way, if any of you T1s out there would like to be my co-host for one of my shows, it's very simple. Call me. Write me. Write me is probably easier. And that's at bonnie@bonniesher.com. And it's just that easy. Laurence, thank you so much for sitting in with me today. And we look forward to hearing from you again soon. All the best to you, and thank you.
Right back at you, Bonnie. Thanks to your crew also, and thank you to the listeners. Have a great afternoon.
And you. That was interesting. I don't know if I can give up my carbs, but I'm now going to hear Laurence's voice in my head, which with all the other voices could become quite competitive, don't you think, Jarvis? Yes. Okay, so I better shut up now. And next up is Boomer News. And today's Boomer News comes to us from the nonprofit organization Public Citizen. Gluten!
For 3 million Americans with celiac disease, eating gluten, a protein in wheat, barley, and rye, can make them sick. Even small amounts of gluten in many products on grocery shelves can trigger painful and debilitating symptoms. Most food labels identify products containing gluten, but one widely used type of product doesn't: over-the-counter and prescription drugs. That's right, manufacturers sometimes use gluten in medications as an inactive ingredient. But drug labels usually don't indicate the use of gluten. To avoid gluten in medication, celiac patients must spend time and effort researching medications online and calling manufacturers. That is not a realistic option. Who can fix this problem? The U.S. Food and Drug Administration, which has long been aware of the issue. In 2008, a New York man with celiac disease urged the agency to ban gluten in medications, or at least to require they be labeled. The petition attracted 73 public comments, but the FDA did not act. In 2011, the FDA received another 138 comments. Still, the FDA did not act. Now lawyers at Public Citizen are representing the man in a lawsuit. The goal? To get the FDA to act on his request. Share the facts at www.citizen.org/pressroom.
Those nasty little glutenators. Anyway, now the views from my soapbox. You might remember that's my shout out to who I think really needs to be applauded. And then my shout down, well, you can only imagine what that's going to be. So first of all, I'd like to give a major shout out to an 11-year-old named Noah Barnes who is walking cross country to raise money for a cure of diabetes. He and his father started in Key West, Florida, and they're headed for Blaine, Washington. He writes that he and his dad march 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, and by the end of the journey, they will have marched 4,000 miles. Yay, you, Noah Barnes. You deserve a big shout out. Now, my shout down, and this one has my head spinning. Do you know that there's actually a law that's been passed in North Carolina which allows rapists to finish no matter what? Excuse me? Well, I'll be done shutting them down. But before we say goodbye, I'd like to thank our guests today. That's Scott Baker Sweeney and Laurence Chalem, and that's our show. And I hope you all return next week for another 50-minute trip through the world of celebrity, through the great boomer generation, and of course, the marvelous T1D community. Until then, you can visit me at BonnieSher.com. You could follow the number 1, Bonnie Sher, on Twitter. And like, if you would, the Bonnie Sings Lena, Lena, fan page on Facebook. Many of you are aware of the great part of my life and the special role that Sammy Davis Jr. played. He was my friend, he was my mentor, and as a result, I remember who got me going on this path. So I end every show the same way, with a wink and a nod to you, Mr. D. And to all of you, have a great week. See you next week. Bye-bye.